Courage comes in many forms and is as unique to us as our thumbprints. All of us need to find courage some of the time, and for some of us, we need to find it most of the time. There's no shame in that. In fact, the qualities that a less brave person has can often include empathy and compassion, and the world needs more of that. None more so than for us, adult survivors of child sexual abuse. When considering courage, most of us see it as doing something that makes us feel uncomfortable, potentially embarrassing, and furthermore exposes us. This leads us to vulnerability, which goes hand in hand with courage. Brené Brown talks about courage and vulnerability, and she is the queen of both. What I'm talking about here is the freedom that courage can bring, even though we are feeling so vulnerable. For instance, for those of us that have experienced child sexual abuse, we find it difficult to speak up about what happened to us because it takes a phenomenal amount of courage to do so. There are, of course, many reasons for this, but I guess the key one is that we have been made to feel wrong, bad, and as unwelcome as our truth. To then transcend that to an adult is almost impossible. Reason? Because as a child, if you've been conditioned to silence, it is then almost impossible to surpass that with a strong voice filled with confidence and self-belief. Sometimes it's hard for those who have not experienced this to understand, no matter how hard we try to explain. The simplest analogy I can find is adults who were bitten by a dog as a small child. If you look closely and notice those adults around dogs now, you will see they are still terrified. And so it is for us survivors. It takes years of hard work, digging deep, and self-sacrifice to come to a place where we can feel safe to speak out. Through publishing my guide, my book, To Help People Heal, I have met many survivors across the world who are working through some of these very challenges. I am so grateful to know their stories and applaud anyone who is trying to overcome the fear to speak out. This is not just a milestone. This is the biggest step some of us can and will ever take in our lives. When talking courage, it can sometimes be so simple, observing from the outside and feeling confusion around, why don't you just do it? But when you're coming from a place of betrayal, hurt, and trauma, it's like leaping off a tall building. No one I know would willingly do that. Some steps I have taken to help me move forward on my journey of courage included writing a journal, talking to a friend, confronting my abusers, and sharing my truth wherever I could. The biggest challenge in my courage journey was to confront my family about the abuse, and though it didn't end well, it freed something inside of me which I found healing. What worked for me in finding my courage was to write down what I wanted to achieve, visualize the outcome as being successful, feel into the visualization through closing my eyes and experiencing its success, talking to a trusted friend about how I wanted it all to unfold, having a script close by when I was ready to speak out, speaking out, and finally celebrating that I spoke out regardless of the outcome. To those out there who are trying to find their voices, you have nothing but my love and support. And for people trying to support you, I thank them. For those who are trying to deal with coming to terms with what happened to you, you also have nothing but my love and support. And please know, there is no timeline for this. If you ever feel like speaking out, you will, and if you don't, well, it's just not your time. Please never forget that all it takes is one voice to change someone's world, but it doesn't have to be yours. Love and light, everyone.